Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so glad you're here. Today I am participating in a mystery box challenge with two of my YouTube friends. Now this is an actual bag, and this is what mine came in. So this is one of these huge gift bags that you can find at the Dollar Tree. Check how big this guy is. So I think I got a couple of ideas for this, but stay tuned to see what I'm going to do with it. Now let's look inside and see what kind of goodies she gave us. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, a wood round. Couple of ideas I think I might have for something like this. She's got me a beautiful little Christmas card, and this has some 3D trees in it. Have a Merry Christmas. Okay, I think I could do something with that. That's pretty cute. So I think she knows that I really love to work with reindeer, but look at this. This is, oh, I'm already full of glitter. Thank you, Sonia. You know how I love glitter. Okay, I guess we're going to see what we do with this guy. What the heck am I supposed to do with this penguin? Sonia, just wait till I see you. It's really cute, but it isn't anything that I would have purchased to craft with in a million years. So this one is going to be tough. I have no idea. All right, I guess we'll get started and see what I come up with. I decided to start with the Christmas card because that seemed the easiest out of all of these projects. These trees are just stuck on with some double-sided tape, and I just very gently pulled them off. It didn't wreck the card, and the sticky was still good. The only other thing I'm going to do is gently peel off that twine bow, and I'm set. I decided to grab this wood oval, which is also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be painting the top half with a nice sky blue color. This is just acrylic paint, and I'm just going to do one coat. If a little bit of the wood shows through, that's fine. I like the texture of that. I'm going to paint the bottom half white, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the white paint and add a good amount of baking soda to it so I can get a really nice textured paint. I'll use a stencil brush to pounce some of that paint on fairly thick, and that will give me some really nice snowy texture. I'm going to dry it with my blow dryer and then give it one more textured coat. Then I use the brush to create some little mounds of snow on either side. Now, using just a little bit of paint on the brush, I'm going to pounce very gently on the blue area to make it look like some falling snow. Before the bottom portion of the white had a chance to dry, I used some Epsom salts and just went along the bottom and put just a little bit on. I'm just sprinkling it with my hand, and then I'm going to just tap it down and then shake off any excess. And this just gives the snow at the bottom a really pretty sparkly look. The stickiness of the double-sided tape was still really strong, so I decided to just press them down right in the center of the oval. And I think it looks beautiful just like this, but I'm going to add just a little bit more to it. I'm using a cut down really stiff fan brush for this, and I'm dipping it very gently into some green paint and then just sort of pouncing back and forth to make some tree shapes. These are just going to be sort of set off in the background, but I thought they would look really nice against the ones that are popping out on the front. This is a really easy technique. You should probably practice it a little bit, and I'm sorry that my hand is in the way. It's just how I'm holding the brush. Here you can see a little bit better what I'm doing, just kind of going back and forth and making that tree shape. It doesn't have to be perfect because trees in their natural splendor are definitely not perfect. I did 3 trees on either side, and now I'm just taking the brush with a tiny little bit of white paint and I'm dabbing it onto the trees to give them a touch of snow. The last thing I'm going to do is add some jute rope all the way around to frame it and then leave a loop at the top so I can hang it up. I think this turned out really pretty. You'll have to let me know what you think. I'd like to thank all of my current subscribers. I wouldn't be where I am today with my channel without you. If you are a viewer of my channel, perhaps coming over from one of the other ladies, Sonia or Vesna, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you like what you see, I'd love it if you could hit that red button too. I'm going to work on the reindeer head now. I took the wreath off of it and I'm giving it one really good coat of white acrylic paint, simply just to cover up the glitter. I've got this cardboard tube that came from a roll of aluminum foil. I'm just taking my knife and cutting probably about a 5 to 6 inch piece off of it. This is going to become the body of my reindeer. I'm going to now cut an angle into it so I can fit it right onto the bottom of the neck. I'm going to be putting the longer end at the bottom, and you can see here how this makes a body for the reindeer. I'm going to use some hot glue and just glue the cardboard right to the bottom portion of the reindeer head. For the legs, I cut down some 1/2 inch dowels and now I'm just making an X in the cardboard where I want to be able to insert the dowel. Just be careful with this because sometimes your blades can slip, and I know my hands are really close to the blade. So I'm just going to try and use my scissors now to just poke the hole and make it a little bit bigger. And once I've got it the right size, I can just go ahead and push the dowel right inside the tube. I'm going to give the joint a bunch of hot glue and then just hold it until the glue sets up so I have it in the right angle. I'll repeat the same thing for the back legs, and you can see the dowels sitting on the table there. I did put a little bit of an angle on them when I cut them. I just used my miter shears, and I'm sorry I did not film that part of it, but they were really easy to cut on an angle, and now I can just kind of fiddle around with the back leg until I have it in the right spot. Now that the legs are all glued in and completely dry, I'm taking a makeup sponge and some antiquing wax and I'm going to stain all 4 of the legs. I'm also going to use the antiquing wax on the head, and this gives it a really nice rustic look. For the body of the reindeer, I decided to give him some flannel red and black buffalo check. These are just an old pair of pajama pants that I had picked up last year for a few projects, and I've got some bits and pieces left over. So I'm just going to cut out a square and then start working on attaching it to the body. I'm going to use hot glue just to hem in one side of the cloth, because this is the part that's going to go around the neck of the reindeer and I wanted it to be a nice clean finish. The first thing I did was just drape the fabric over his neck, and then I'm going to pull the hemmed pieces down and glue them into place, sort of like a little blanket on him. For the legs, I'm going to just be gluing them down. I did make a bit of a slit in this one so I could work with it a little bit easier. I'm going to fold it down just a little bit so it's a nice edge, almost like a hem, and then hot glue that into place around the leg. I'll continue to do that all the way around until I get to the bottom, and then I'll glue the bottom portion right onto the cardboard tube. I did make a mistake with him. I cut the belly pieces of the fabric too short, and now it's really snug on the cardboard tube. So if you do want to try this project, make sure you give yourself a little bit more room to be able to stuff him. I really had to struggle to get this all put in there. I used the eraser end of a pencil to help me push in the stuffing, and I did the best job I could. Again, I didn't have enough space to make him really nice and fluffy. I didn't want him to be a fat reindeer, but I wanted him to have a little bit more fluff than he really does right now. But once I was done, I just went ahead and glued down the rest of the fabric underneath to cover up his little tush. Not sure if you've noticed, but as I was working with him, I was touching the antlers and some of the antiquing wax came off on my fingers, but I really kind of liked that look, that they were a little bit more faded than his face. So I actually left it that way. I thought it was really natural looking. For his tail, I decided to cut off one of the little pieces from the wreath. I'm going to glue that on his bum as his little tail, and then I'm just going to cover it with a little bit more of the antiquing wax just to get rid of the glitter look. Then I added a few little frosty sprigs of greenery around his neck, sort of like just a wreath hanging there, and this project is complete. I have to say it gave me a really big challenge to create him. I did struggle with him, as I said, but I think he turned out absolutely gorgeous, and I really love this look. For this wood round, I'm going to take this really pretty neutral sort of grayish scrapbook paper and use Mod Podge to apply it to the wood round. Once I'm done that, I'll just use my X-Acto knife to trim off the excess. I'm going to be adding a bunch of wooden trees to the front of this. And what I'm doing here is just trimming off the star on these ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I've got a few different styles. Some of them came from my local dollar store, and that large one is from Michael's. I'm going to stick with neutral tones for this sign to match up with the scrapbook paper. So I'm going to use this Folk Art Parisian Gray chalk paint on a few of the trees. Then I'll use a darker shade of gray and then some white. I painted the trunks of the tree black, and now I'm just taking the brush that had some black on it and giving every tree a little bit of distressing, just in a vertical motion. Off camera, I played around with the position of the trees, and once I decided where I wanted them to all fit, I'm going to use hot glue to glue them right down. I'm going to do something a little different. I never put anything completely in the center, so that's why I'm starting off with this big tree off to the side a little bit. I've already got that dark tree glued on. I'm also going to be having some of the branches of the trees stick off on the side of the wood round. I just think that makes it look a little different. I wanted to put "Walking in a Winter Wonderland" on the top of this sign, so I designed a little blurb on my Cricut, and that will be available as a free printable on my website under the Free Printables tab. I'm going to be using some low-tack masking tape to put on my vinyl, just because I know from experience when I use the transfer tape, it's really too sticky and it ends up pulling off some of the paper. I've tried this method before and it works for me, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some frosty greenery to the top of the sign, some lamb's ear here that's really got a heavy coating, and then I've also got some little pine and cedar branches. I'm going to be adding some pine cones and then a gray ribbon. So you can see there's a bow sitting off to the right there. That's a really pretty ribbon that I picked up at Dollar Tree one time, and it's gray with a little white laurel through it. I think it's so pretty, but I'm going to make a smaller bow because that's just going to fit better with what I'm doing. I'm going to use the same ribbon as a hanger and just make sure that I fold it the right way so it hangs really pretty. I think this one turned out really nice. So if you've been waiting to see what I do with this penguin, hit the comments down below and type in the word penguin so I know you're still with me. This stuff is really easy to get off. All you've got to do is just give it a bit of a trim at one end and all of it will just kind of peel off. It's just hooked on by these little plastic nibs, so it's really easy to remove. The plastic on these is fairly soft, so I'm just using these little snips that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be trimming off all of the feet and the arms, and I'm also going to go around and trim off all those little bumps. I'm also going to be reshaping the hat a little bit. I cut out 2 pieces of white felt because I wanted to disguise all of the bumps. But in hindsight, you don't have to do that. One piece would be plenty, or you could just skip over this step completely and just move on to the fabric. I've got the frame facing down, so I'm just working with the back now and using hot glue to put all the felt in place. I had this really pretty fabric from Walmart. It was one of their fat quarters. I'm going to go ahead and just glue this on to the bottom portion of my penguin frame. Now, again, you don't need to use this much fabric. You could probably get away with half of the fabric and just start at that center line of the belly because you won't end up seeing the majority of this fabric anyway. I'm just going to glue it on the same way I did with the felt, just kind of pleating it as I go to get a nice rounded shape. I'm going to use this white faux fur ribbon that I picked up last year, and I'm going to just trim it down, and this is going to become the beard. Have you guessed what I'm making yet? I'm going to be creating a gnome from this frame, and I think he turned out pretty cute. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use my tiny scissors to just trim the backside of the fabric. That way I don't cut into the fur. I'm going to use 2 layers and give him a really nice, full, fluffy beard. Here's what I meant about the plaid fabric. You really won't see it at all once you get the second layer of beard on. I'm going to use one of these fuzzy microfiber cloths that you can get from the Dollar Tree in their hardware section. I think they're car wash cloths. And I'm going to take one of the seamed edges and use that as the brim of the hat. I'm going to glue both sides of the car wash cloth to the back, but I'm going to make sure that I leave a little bit of slack in the front because I need to be able to fit a nose in there. I like to give my gnomes a hat that just hangs down on the one side. So I'm going to take all of this extra car wash cloth and just kind of roll it up and then pinch it down at the end so I get the shape that I'm looking for. Once I've got that shape, I'm just going to use a piece of twine and tie it off. I wanted the gnome to have a little red nose, so I just grabbed one of these berries from a berry pick that came from my local dollar store. And since it's already painted red, it's perfect. I'm just going to hot glue him right under the hat and a little bit sticking out just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue down the rest of the front brim of his hat. I like my gnomes to have a really fluffy sort of pom-pom hanging off their hat. And I've got this loopy yarn that came from a dollar store last year. I've got 4 skeins of it and I don't know what I'm going to be doing with it. But anyway, I've got tons of it. I thought I would use this for the hat. So I'm just going to take some pieces and I'm going to wrap it around twice, hot glue it in a couple of spots to hold it down. Taking another piece of the fabric, I'm going to hem both long sides and one of the short sides, again, just with hot glue. Then I'll place it right onto the bottom portion of the hat and make it have a little bit more of a brim. I cut off the excess microfiber cloth that was hanging down from the little pom-poms and added some more yarn to make it look a lot fuller. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is pay a little tribute to my original penguin and grab some of this black sparkly twine or whatever you want to call it, garland, and just give that a little bit along the top of his hat. Let me know what you think of my gnome. For this last project, it is the huge bag. And I had a couple of ideas and I did try some of them and they didn't turn out. So this big bag is now reduced to the paper that you see here in front of me. So I just decided to do something a little different. I'm going to make a little paper ornament out of them. So you can see here that I'm just accordion folding all of them. And that's what I'm going to do to start. Once I'm finished with that, I'm going to just glue all of the tops together so they look a little bit like a Christmas tree shape. Now that they're all folded and glued at the top, I'm going to start gluing the tops of them together. So you can see here just a little bit of hot glue and that will hold those two pieces together. I'm going to continue that until I have a full circle, kind of like the shape you see here. I'm going to use a piece of ribbon as a hanger and just hot gluing it in between two of the pieces. Using hot glue, I then glued all of the separate pieces together at the bottom so it would look like one solid piece. For the final touch, I just glued on this snowflake that came from the Dollar Tree. It was in a set of 4 that were hanging, just glued it right into the center, and this one is finished too. Really fun, really simple, and I think it looks pretty good. I hope you had fun watching me figure out what to do with these mystery box items. Don't forget to go down to my description box and click on the playlist link so you can see what Sonia and Vesna have created too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.